The ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers profound insights into human behavior and interpersonal dynamics, providing a unique framework for understanding romantic interest and attraction. At its core, Stoicism emphasizes rational analysis of human nature while maintaining emotional equilibrium, a perspective particularly valuable when examining complex social signals like those indicating romantic or sexual interest. The Stoics recognize that while we cannot control others' feelings or actions, we can develop the wisdom to accurately interpret their behaviors and respond appropriately, guided by reason rather than impulse. This philosophical approach becomes especially relevant when considering signs of attraction, as modern dating dynamics often create confusion between genuine interest and socially conditioned behaviors. Epictetus taught that much of human behavior stems from internal impressions and external pressures, suggesting that attraction manifests through consistent patterns rather than isolated gestures. By applying Stoic principles of careful observation and rational analysis, individuals can distinguish authentic signals from mere social conventions, avoiding both false optimism and unnecessary rejection. Moreover, Stoicism provides crucial guidance on how to process these observations without becoming emotionally entangled in their implications. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of maintaining objectivity when interpreting others' actions, recognizing that true intentions reveal themselves through sustained patterns rather than single incidents. This detached yet attentive approach allows for accurate assessment of romantic interest while preventing emotional disturbance from misinterpretation or premature conclusions. Wisdom particularly valuable in today's fast-paced dating environment, where signals can be easily misconstrued. Proximity. Regulation. The Stoic analysis of spatial dynamics, the first significant sign of romantic interest manifests through deliberate regulation of physical proximity, a behavioral pattern that aligns closely with Stoic principles of observing natural inclinations while maintaining rational analysis. This phenomenon, known as proximity regulation, involves conscious manipulation of personal space to signal interest while testing boundaries, creating observable patterns that reveal underlying intentions. Unlike random or coincidental encounters, these spatial adjustments follow distinct protocols that Stoic observers can detect through systematic attention to environmental interactions. Primary among these indicators is the gradual reduction of personal space during interactions, executed through calculated movements rather than impulsive advances. A woman interested in someone might initially maintain conventional social distance, but progressively decrease this space through subtle maneuvers, choosing adjacent seating arrangements, standing closer during conversations, or finding reasons to occupy shared spaces. These adjustments typically occur in increments small enough to avoid conscious detection, while establishing new comfort zones over time. The Stoic approach involves documenting these spatial changes methodically, recognizing that genuine attraction creates consistent patterns of proximity adjustment rather than random fluctuations. Directional orientation provides additional evidence through subtle but meaningful body language cues. Interested individuals tend to angle their bodies toward the person of interest, creating what researchers call open postures that facilitate interaction while signaling availability. This might manifest as turning shoulders directly toward the target during group settings, positioning oneself to maximize visibility, or adjusting seating arrangements to maintain optimal viewing angles. The Stoic observer notes these directional choices not as definitive proof, but as valuable data points in their overall assessment of romantic interest. The timing and context of proximity adjustments offer further insight into underlying intentions. Those signaling romantic interest often demonstrate remarkable precision in their spatial maneuvers, choosing moments when increased closeness appears natural or necessary. This might include leaning in during important conversations, finding excuses to share confined spaces, or timing their movements to coincide with opportunities for closer contact. The Stoic practitioner analyzes these temporal patterns while maintaining emotional detachment, understanding that authentic attraction generates purposeful spatial adjustments rather than random proximity changes. Verbal patterns and communication dynamics. The Stoic evaluation of discourse, the second significant indicator of romantic interest, reveals itself through distinct verbal patterns and communication dynamics, subtle but consistent behaviors that align with Stoic principles of rational observation and pattern recognition. These linguistic indicators manifest through three primary channels: initiation frequency, topic selection, and response timing, each providing valuable evidence of underlying attraction when analyzed systematically. The Stoic approach emphasizes documenting these patterns over time, rather than reacting to isolated incidents, ensuring accurate interpretation while maintaining emotional equilibrium. Initiation frequency represents perhaps the most telling verbal indicator, as it reflects deliberate investment in communication rather than passive engagement. Women expressing romantic interest typically demonstrate increased initiative in starting conversations, proposing topics, and maintaining dialogue flow. This might appear as frequent messaging initiations, strategic phone calls at optimal times, or creative suggestions for discussion topics that maximize interaction opportunities. The Stoic observer tracks these initiation patterns methodically, recognizing that genuine attraction naturally generates more frequent and varied attempts at engagement rather than sporadic or situational communication. Topic selection and depth of conversation provide additional layers of evidence through carefully chosen subjects and increasing intimacy levels. Those signaling romantic interest often gravitate toward personally revealing topics, future-oriented discussions, and shared experiences that create emotional connection. They might inquire about personal goals, share intimate details gradually, or propose hypothetical scenarios involving mutual participation. The Stoic approach involves analyzing these content choices while maintaining objective detachment, understanding that authentic attraction drives individuals to seek deeper connections through increasingly meaningful discourse. Response timing and message crafting offer precise indicators through measurable patterns of engagement. Interested individuals typically demonstrate remarkably consistent response times, often prioritizing communications with the person of interest over other obligations. Their messages might show increased length, careful composition, and strategic use of emotive language that balances vulnerability with attractiveness. The Stoic practitioner documents these patterns while practicing emotional restraint, using them as opportunities to exercise rational judgment rather than react impulsively to perceived attention. This measured approach prevents misinterpretation while allowing for comprehensive analysis of communication dynamics over time. Behavioral synchrony and nonverbal cues. The Stoic observation of natural harmony. The third significant sign of romantic interest emerges through behavioral synchrony and coordinated nonverbal cues, a phenomenon that aligns perfectly with Stoic principles of observing natural order and human harmony. This synchronization manifests through unconscious mirroring of movements, expressions, and energy levels, creating observable patterns that reveal underlying attraction while demonstrating fundamental compatibility. The Stoic approach emphasizes systematic documentation of these synchronized behaviors while maintaining rational detachment from their emotional implications. Primary among these indicators is movement mirroring, where individuals unconsciously replicate each other's gestures, postures, and facial expressions with minimal delay. This might appear as simultaneous head tilts during conversations, matching laughter patterns, or coordinated shifts in body position that create visual harmony between participants. Stoic observer notes these mirrored movements not as isolated occurrences, but as part of a larger pattern of behavioral alignment, understanding that genuine attraction naturally generates synchronized physical responses rather than random similarities. Energy level coordination provides additional evidence through subtle but consistent matching of emotional intensity and engagement patterns. Interested individuals often demonstrate remarkable ability to adjust their energy output to match their target state, creating smooth transitions between high and low intensity moments. This might manifest as matching enthusiasm during exciting Discussions, synchronizing relaxation during calm periods, or coordinating stress responses during challenging situations. The Stoic practitioner analyzes these energy patterns while maintaining emotional equilibrium, recognizing that authentic attraction facilitates natural energetic harmony between individuals. Timing and rhythm of interactions offer further insight through precisely coordinated behavioral sequences. Those signaling romantic interest might demonstrate remarkable accuracy in joining activities, contributing to conversations, and participating in shared experiences at optimal moments. This could include perfectly timed interventions in discussions, strategically synchronized arrivals and departures, or carefully planned overlaps in activity schedules. The Stoic approach involves documenting these temporal patterns methodically, using them as opportunities to practice rational analysis rather than react impulsively to perceived coordination. This systematic observation helps distinguish genuine attraction from mere coincidence while maintaining appropriate philosophical distance from emotional implications. Attention, allocation, and resource investment. The Stoic analysis of prioritization. Fourth significant indicator of romantic interest reveals itself through deliberate allocation of attention and resources, a behavioral pattern that aligns closely with Stoic principles of observing value attribution and intentional action. This phenomenon manifests through measurable investments of time, energy, and personal resources, creating observable patterns that demonstrate genuine interest while reflecting fundamental priorities. The Stoic approach emphasizes systematic documentation of these resource allocations while maintaining rational detachment from their emotional implications. Primary among these indicators is time investment, where individuals consciously prioritize shared experiences over alternative obligations. Women expressing romantic interest often demonstrate remarkable consistency in rearranging schedules, sacrificing personal time, or creating opportunities for interaction that maximize quality engagement. This might appear as frequent calendar adjustments to accommodate meetings, strategic planning of overlapping activities, or persistent efforts to synchronize free time despite conflicting commitments. The Stoic observer tracks these time investments methodically, recognizing that genuine attraction naturally generates purposeful scheduling decisions rather than random availability. Resource sharing and personal sacrifices provide additional evidence through tangible demonstrations of commitment and interest. Those signaling romantic attraction might deliberately share limited resources, whether financial contributions to joint activities, personal belongings, or professional connections, that indicate willingness to invest in the relationship's development. This could manifest as offering exclusive access to personal networks, allocating discretionary funds towards shared experiences, or making visible sacrifices that demonstrate priority status. The Stoic practitioner analyzes these resource allocations while practicing emotional restraint, understanding that authentic attraction drives individuals to redistribute their assets meaningfully rather than make arbitrary offerings. Attention, distribution, and mental energy investment offer precise indicators through observable patterns of focus and engagement. Interested individuals typically demonstrate remarkable ability to maintain divided attention effectively, balancing multiple responsibilities while ensuring consistent availability for meaningful interaction. This might appear as maintaining awareness of the person's schedule, remembering important details across conversations, or demonstrating remarkable recall of shared experiences. The Stoic approach involves documenting these attention patterns systematically, using them as opportunities to exercise rational judgment rather than react impulsively to perceived prioritization. Emotional vulnerability and selective disclosure. The Stoic assessment of intimacy, the fifth significant sign of romantic interest, emerges through patterns of emotional vulnerability and selective disclosure, a delicate balance that aligns with Stoic principles of observing human nature while maintaining rational analysis. This phenomenon manifests through carefully calibrated revelations of personal information, creating observable patterns that demonstrate genuine interest while testing relational boundaries. The Stoic approach emphasizes systematic documentation of these disclosure patterns, while maintaining appropriate emotional distance from their implications. Primary among these indicators is graduated self-disclosure, where individuals progressively reveal intimate details through controlled increments rather than complete transparency. Women expressing romantic interest often demonstrate remarkable precision in choosing which aspects of their lives to share, when to disclose them, and how to frame these revelations. This might appear as initial sharing of neutral personal information, followed by gradual introduction of more sensitive topics, and eventual disclosure of deeply personal experiences that require trust and vulnerability. The Stoic observer tracks these disclosure patterns methodically, recognizing that genuine attraction naturally generates purposeful self-revelation rather than random confessions. Emotional availability and response patterns provide additional evidence through observable displays of authenticity and engagement. Those signaling romantic interest might demonstrate remarkable consistency in their emotional responses, showing appropriate vulnerability while maintaining composure during significant moments. This could manifest as sharing genuine emotional reactions to personal experiences, displaying appropriate affect during challenging situations, or demonstrating remarkable authenticity and emotional expression that aligns with contextual demands. The Stoic practitioner analyzes these emotional patterns while practicing rational detachment, understanding that authentic attraction facilitates natural emotional alignment between individuals. Boundary testing and reciprocity expectations offer further insight through precisely coordinated patterns of disclosure and response. Interested individuals often demonstrate remarkable ability to gauge appropriate levels of intimacy, creating opportunities for mutual vulnerability while establishing clear boundaries for acceptable disclosure. This might appear as initiating personal conversations while observing response patterns, testing emotional boundaries through incremental revelations, or creating situations that invite reciprocal disclosures. The Stoic approach involves documenting these boundary-testing behaviors systematically, using them as opportunities to exercise philosophical judgment rather than react impulsively to perceived intimacy invitations. Future orientation and inclusion. Patterns. The Stoic examination of long-term signals. The sixth significant indicator of romantic interest reveals itself through explicit future orientation and inclusion patterns, a behavioral phenomenon that aligns with Stoic principles of observing intentionality and planning. This manifestation occurs through deliberate references to future scenarios and calculated inclusion in long-term plans, creating observable patterns that demonstrate genuine interest while revealing fundamental priorities. The Stoic approach emphasizes systematic documentation of these forward-looking behaviors while maintaining rational detachment from their emotional implications. Primary among these indicators is future scenario construction, where individuals consciously incorporate the person of interest into projected life events and plans. Women expressing romantic interest often demonstrate remarkable frequency in referencing future contexts that include their target, whether through casual mentions of upcoming events, detailed descriptions of planned activities, or explicit invitations to participate in significant occasions. This might appear as discussing vacation possibilities that involve the person, mentioning them in context of family gatherings, or explicitly including them in professional or personal development plans. The Stoic observer tracks these future references methodically, recognizing that genuine attraction naturally generates purposeful inclusion in forward-looking scenarios rather than random projections. Inclusion patterns and role assignment provide additional evidence through observable demonstrations of integration into various life domains. Those signaling romantic interest might deliberately allocate specific roles or responsibilities within future plans, creating opportunities for meaningful participation while demonstrating consideration of the person's capabilities and preferences. This could manifest as assigning particular tasks in group projects, requesting involvement in personal initiatives, or explicitly acknowledging the person's potential contribution to future endeavors. The Stoic practitioner analyzes these inclusion patterns while practicing emotional restraint, understanding that authentic attraction drives individuals to envision concrete roles for their target in various life aspects, rather than vague or situational involvement. Temporal mapping and milestone integration offer precise indicators through carefully constructed timelines that incorporate the person of interest. Interested individuals often demonstrate remarkable ability to align their personal milestones with those of their target, creating synchronized progression paths that facilitate long-term engagement. This might appear as coordinating career, advancement plans, aligning personal development goals, or explicitly linking significant life events to the person's presence and participation. The Stoic approach involves documenting these temporal mappings systematically, using them as opportunities to exercise rational analysis rather than react impulsively to perceived commitment signals. Conclusion: the Stoic synthesis of observational wisdom, the 6 signs of romantic interest, proximity regulation, verbal patterns, behavioral synchrony, resource investment, emotional vulnerability, and future orientation, form an interconnected framework that reveals the sophisticated nature of human attraction through the Stoic lens. Each indicator, while valuable independently, gains deeper significance when considered as part of this comprehensive system of observation and analysis. The Stoic approach to detecting romantic interest transcends mere social awareness, transforming potential sources of emotional disturbance into opportunities for philosophical practice and personal growth. This synthesis of signs demonstrates remarkable coherence with core Stoic principles, particularly in its emphasis on careful observation, rational analysis, and emotional detachment. The interplay between these indicators creates a sophisticated mechanism for assessing social reality while maintaining inner tranquility. For instance, recognizing proximity adjustments informs our interpretation of verbal patterns, while understanding resource allocation enhances our analysis of emotional vulnerability. This integrated approach prevents isolated judgments based on single indicators, aligning perfectly with Stoic teachings about gathering comprehensive evidence before forming conclusions. The practical value of this framework extends beyond mere detection of romantic interest. It provides a structured methodology for navigating complex social environments, enabling practitioners to exercise their rational judgment while maintaining emotional stability. By approaching these signs as opportunities for philosophical practice, rather than triggers for emotional reaction, individuals can transform potentially disruptive social dynamics into exercises in wisdom and virtue. This perspective shift exemplifies the Stoic ideal of turning obstacles into advantages, demonstrating how challenges in human relationships can become pathways to greater understanding and personal development. Ultimately, the mastery of these 6 signs represents more than social acumen. It embodies the essence of Stoic philosophy in action. Through systematic observation, rational analysis, and emotional detachment, practitioners develop not just better relationship judgment, but deeper insight into human nature itself. This understanding positions them to navigate social complexities with greater wisdom and purpose, their actions guided by timeless principles, rather than momentary impressions or emotional reactions. The resulting transformation affects not only how they perceive others' feelings, but how they respond to them, creating a virtuous cycle of improved social intelligence and philosophical growth.